Support for this episode is provided by listeners like you. If you'd like to be a part of the great people keeping this show going, please visit thelancast.com/donate. Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Becky Svensson. Joining us on this episode of the Lancast is Mark Pontz, founder and editor of Living Lancaster.
During our conversation, Mark shares about the how and why of building a magazine.
Living Lancaster started in 2007, in February 2007, as a vehicle to have my theories and thoughts and considerations about mortgages for people to hear. So I knew I wasn't going to put out a 2-page flyer 4 times a year that people would pay attention to. So I thought, well, there's a lot of neat stuff that happens around here people don't know about. I didn't think it was being done justice by the available sources. And I said, well, we'll put some cool stuff, as my wife says, the things that I like. So food, fashion, music, art, that kind of thing. And so it was 28 pages, and people liked it.
We also get into a few things about Mark that you won't necessarily be reading about in the next issue of the magazine.
So I'm a geek. I don't let that come out too much in the magazine, I don't think. So, and I have a geek flag. Let's put it that way. I fly a geek flag. I love technical things. So it wouldn't be surprising to people that read the magazine to know that the guy who spearheads it likes computers and things like that. And so yeah, Comic-Con, movies, that kind of thing. It all kind of boils down to understanding how it comes about. We just don't talk about comic books per se.
Enjoy the conversation. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David.
And a happy New Year's to all our listeners. It's New Year's Day.
It is New Year's Day. I've only had 20 minutes of sleep.
Really?
Since September.
What did you do to celebrate?
Watched a movie. No, I didn't watch a movie. I watched a movie this morning. Watched Prometheus again this morning.
I like that movie.
Great movie.
Yeah. There's Prometheus poster right behind you.
It was. I can't turn around and then you won't be able to hear me.
That's true. So.
No, last night, nothing much. Watched the ball drop and went to bed at 12:05.
All right.
I'm living on the edge.
Yeah. You didn't have to wait for the kids to get home or anything like that?
No, my daughter was at an overnight party, so
okay.
She's 18. I can't tell her not to do it. Well, I can tell her that she can't go to college if she doesn't listen to me, but
it's such a threat.
It seemed egregious, so I let her go.
Yeah. Well, we went and saw the ball drop in Lancaster, and it was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Isn't it a rose? Don't they
a
drop
rose.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
I've never been, and I knew that.
Yeah, it's a red rose, and it almost finished before midnight. It started way early, and it was.
They start dropping it in November.
Yeah, yeah. So it just barely made it by midnight. So anyway, well, we're going to talk about Living Lancaster.
We can talk about that.
So cool.
I'm familiar with that subject.
Tell us a little bit about what Living Lancaster magazine is.
Living Lancaster magazine is a lifestyle magazine that we publish here about Lancaster County, about Lancaster in general, but we don't really we're not forced into the confines of the county lines. We've interviewed Bruce Kulick, who was in KISS for about 20 years. We've interviewed Jane Weedlin from the Go-Go's. We did a feature just in the last issue of last year with about a film that was made from Kickstarter funds called I, and it was made by a girl named Jocelyn Town, who stars in it, wrote it, directed it. She's married to Simon Helberg, who's on The Big Bang Theory. Oh. And so there's a story about that in our issue that's current until February of this year. So we don't force ourselves into any boundaries. It's mostly about things that are happening here and in the general area. We do go over into York with something we call Over the River, what's cooking over in York. We have Capital Thinking, which is what's going on in Harrisburg. But the majority of it is about Lancaster. Lifestyle, music, art, food, fun, clothing, that kind of thing.
Cool. Sounds a little familiar.
Yes, I'm sure you read it at least once.
So, Mark, did you set out when you were very young to do a magazine about Lancaster, or was it one of those journeys that's has its twists and turns?
It's actually an interesting story, Becky, I think, because I have no history in publishing or anything like that. I'm actually was and still am very active in the mortgage industry. I work for a company called Mortgage Network. I'm a mortgage loan officer, and I've been since 1993, and that's still how I make my living. I started Fine Living because I spent a lot of money advertising over the years it was then a different company called Arlington Capital, and spent a lot of money and didn't get a lot of results. And was quoted in the newspaper numerous times. People would call me and say, "What do you think about the rates changing? What do you think about jumbo loans? How's the fiscal cliff going to affect things?" That kind of thing. And that always resulted in phone calls and potential business. What advertising never did. And they say, become the expert that people will come to you. That's a legitimate thing, and it's nice to get those calls, and I've been on the news and things like that. But they never do just one person. It doesn't matter what the field is. It could be mortgages. It could be, unless there only is one person. There's only one mayor. There's only one governor, that kind of thing. But there's plenty of people that do mortgages. There's plenty of people that are doctors, lawyers, chefs, whatever. They're never going to come to just one person every single time. So I thought, there's one way to make sure that they only come to me, and that's if I create the product that it's included in. So legitimately, Find Living Lancaster started in 2007, in February 2007, as a vehicle to have my theories and thoughts and considerations about mortgages for people to hear. So I knew I wasn't going to put out a 2-page flyer 4 times a year that people would pay attention to. So I thought, there's a lot of neat stuff that happens around here people don't know about. I didn't think it was being done justice by the available sources. And I said, we'll put some cool stuff, as my wife says, the things that I like. So food, fashion, music, art, that kind of thing. And so it was 28 pages, and people liked it. So the next one was 32, and the next 2 were 64. So we more than doubled in size within the first year, and now we're at 160 pages. So, and we are at 160 because we want it that size. We don't want it to be any bigger than that. We did one time, we did it 192, and it was fine, but it gets a little unwieldy. So
it's quarterly, right?
Quarterly.
All right. So when planning out something like this in the beginning, what goes through your mind?
Planning is a really loose term. If anybody wants to go to fllmag.com, you can actually see every magazine we've ever done and read it in PDF format. So you can see the first issue. And planning a 28-page magazine is a little bit different than planning a 160-page magazine, which is, okay, I know there's going to be one page in it because I'm putting that page in. And we'll have a couple of ads in it to help pay for it. And what else? Well, my daughter goes to Lancaster Country Day School, so we'll do a story about Lancaster Country Day School. And State of Volvo was one of our first helpers or sponsors or partners, so we did something about a Volvo. And Mercedes, excuse me, that was the first one. I'm getting old, so and that was 6 years ago. But that's some of it was based on inspiration of who were helping us with it. But the first cover was the Fulton, and it seems like that's the place you start. If you're starting the arts in Lancaster, you start at the Fulton. So that was the first cover. Another interesting thing is the first 2 covers. First cover was the Fulton. The second cover was a car, and up until the August 2012 issue, there was never not a person after that. And that one was our first political issue. So we had an illustration on it, and now we're back to people. It'll almost always be people. So how did we plan it? I was like, we have 28 pages to fill. What do we do with it? So that's how we planned it.
Wow.
Why do you choose to have people on the cover?
I think that we're quarterly, so I think we want something that grabs people. We distribute throughout the county and in subscriptions and things like that, but by a long shot, the most that go through Penn Cinemas. They have complimentary copies for the people that attend there for movies. And over the holiday season, literally from Thanksgiving weekend until yesterday, New Year's Eve, I think we put 4,000 copies through there. Wow. And it's just something that grabbed the attention. Plus, I think people care more about people than they do flowers. Not that people don't like flowers, but you know what I'm saying. It's not quite as captivating to see a cover with a vase of flowers on it or a bowl of pasta. All valid things, and not to be disrespectful of anything that features that, but that's more of a Martha Stewart Living thing. Mm-hmm. There's a reason Oprah's on every cover of her magazine, because people like people.
It's certainly more relatable.
Exactly.
Especially something like this where it's targeted audience, like those people might know. You might get a lot of people who recognize the person on the cover.
Right. I mean, the current right now is a cover as Adam Blessing, who's a musician. We branched out last year to do something called the 60-Second Film Festival, which was very exciting. We challenged anyone, anywhere, to make a movie 60 seconds long, tell a full story. We picked the 12 that we liked the best. I shouldn't say the top 12. Screened them at Penn Cinema during the actual festival. It was a juried festival, and the top film after votes won $1,000. Wow. And we're doing it again May of 2013. So we launched it, and then the cover is Adam Blessing, again, a musician who did our film. We always do a launch film, and it was a music video, 60-second song. And I don't know if it's that he's a good-looking fellow or just a combination of a lot of things, but that issue's flown away. We try and time it so there's issues until the new one comes out. Not sure we're going to make it this time.
Wow.
They just went out so fast.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
All right.
What gives you the right? Who do you think you are to charge people to read this magazine?
To charge people to read it? Well, the only people that actually have to pay for it are those that want it delivered to their house.
Right. Okay.
If you want it to show up at your house, it's $9 for a year. So that's 4 issues for $9. That postage costs money. I don't think I have the right to do anything except put something out, and if people like it, they have the right to pay for it. But that said, Penn Cinema. It's free to the moviegoers. Anybody that is a partner in the magazine has copies of the magazine when it comes out to give out to their customers, to people that visit their establishments, restaurants, and that kind of thing. So we're really not trying to make money by selling the magazine. The only place you pay for it is if you get it, again, delivered to your home, or at like Barnes & Noble and Giant and things like that. And we're in those places because sometimes that's the only place you reach people. Excuse me.
Yeah. So what about the first time that you reached out to ads? How did you pitch this idea?
Who bought the dream is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Look at the first one. There's not a lot of ads. It was mostly me and a couple of people that I knew and had done business with me through mortgages that knew I wouldn't lead them astray, or give them something that wasn't at least worth the modicum they paid for it. But no, mostly it was covered by me in the first year or the first half a year. Simply because it was money I would have spent on advertising. So instead of putting my face on television some more or whatever, I repurposed that money to put that out there to entertain people and put my message in that as well. So as with any startup of any type, the majority of it was me or whoever puts it up. So there was very few ads in the beginning.
Mark, I'm guessing you would consider yourself an entrepreneurial type.
I would say that's a fair statement. Yeah. Here, let me get out the list of 100 other businesses I haven't started yet.
Yeah. Well, from an outside perspective, you're pulling it off.
Thank you.
But in a project like this, I can only imagine there are certain elements that you go into and you think, wow, printing, or wow, publishing, or wow, legal issues. Mm-hmm. What were some of those things that you, on the front end, had absolutely no idea how to get it done correctly, and on you just taught yourself? Right.
Well, God bless the internet, because there's a lot of stuff you can find out. The first contracts were pulled off of something on the internet and modified to suit our needs. Legality, it's really, I think, just a matter of there's freedom of the press. So that's a fairly broad, sweeping statement. We're not out to libel anybody. We're not really out to cause controversy. We're out to let people know about cool things that they may not already know about, or facets of some things that they may know about and don't know they know. Food is a big proponent. Food fight is our big thing that's been running for a long time. And if I took it out, I think we would get lynched. Where we give local chefs a specific ingredient and say rock and roll with this, and we come and we do a photo and we taste the food. So there's really nothing in there that's going to harm anybody. We might say we like the food. You might go try the food and not like it, but that's just a matter of taste. We might say we like, Adam Blessing, we might say we really enjoy his music. It might not be to your liking, but there's no real damage done. Mm-hmm. There are some things in there that are opinions that financial people, including myself, obviously the company has a disclaimer for that, which is any action you take, and it's in the beginning of the magazine, each issue. Any actions you take are your own responsibility. It's like saying, hey, I like that car, but I drove it into a wall and I'm going to blame the car company. So the legal aspects are important, but not quite as daunting as you might think. Joe McMahon is our attorney who does some great stuff for us. So no particular plug meant, but he's a great guy and really helpful to us. So learn as you go. Fall down, get up, and dust off and go. The big one, we had two things that happened. Once was we did something that was a bit of a takeoff on Star Wars. It was an illustration. We do something with the Rose Breakfast Club every issue called Dinner with the Breakfast Club. They're technically our restaurant reviewers. And I had an idea to do an image of them from an artist that was reminiscent or an homage to Star Wars, as it were. And when I got it, it was very much an homage to Star Wars, and I started to get a little nervous because there was lightsabers and Darth Vader costumes on a lady, actually, but it was super cool. But I got a little nervous. So we talked to an attorney, that was before we had Joe, who told us he thought it was fine because it was kind of came along the lines of parody. I still went back to the artist and had him change a few things. Lightsabers went away, and so now it's more of just a space kind of thing. That was the one thing, and not a legal issue, but we've in the history of Fine Living Lancaster rejected only one thing. It was an ad that was frankly just in poor taste. Who wanted to put it in, we won't discuss, or why, but it was salacious. I'm all about pushing boundaries. I believe we've done that. I'm all about thought-provoking things. I'm not about exploitation. So that was not really a legal issue, but it was an interesting one anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how. Trial and error.
Tell us about the feeling when you started to get successful, and what was that ride for you? Like when you realized, hey, I'm onto something here.
I'll tell you what, David. It's an interesting thing when somebody says, "Boy, I really like your magazine." I'm sure the same to you as when somebody says, "Boy, I really like your podcast." It's almost like saying, "Hey, I really like your kid. Like you got a good kid." Well, it's kind of the same thing. Like you've just like you do here. You put it together, people enjoy it. And that's a great feeling. I mean, I would have to bounce that question back to you guys and say, how do you feel when people say, "Boy, I love your podcast"?
Feels awesome.
Yeah, it's a tremendous feeling, and then and I would say that I'm sure the same for you guys is, it just makes you want to do better. It makes you want to do more. So that's the thing. That's where I like to think we're different is we continually look for the next thing. You mentioned entrepreneurial. I don't know if it's entrepreneurial or just brand consciousness. But the film festival, the 60-second film festival that we did, very popular, doing it again. We do, in the February issue, we've got Caffeinista, third year running, which is to benefit Schreiber Pediatric Center. We go to different coffee shops. We challenge them to come up with a drink. They sell the drink during a certain portion of time, and everyone's sold. $1 goes to Schreiber Pediatric, and whoever sells the most is crowned the Caffeinista. So last year it was Rachel's Cafe for 2012. We don't know who it'll be for 2013 yet, obviously. So we're just always looking for those things. I'm not sure when this will air, but starting January, is it January 3rd, we've made a deal and an arrangement with Fox 43. We're going to be on their morning news or during their morning news broadcasts on Thursdays and Fridays with something called Fine on Fox, which will be every week just a tiny little bit of something cool and a movie review from our good friend Penn. And that'll go all through 2013. So it's what's the next thing? Keep the magazine fresh, keep it exciting, keep it visually stunning or as stunning as possible, interesting to read. People want to keep it around. And then what's the next thing we can do to add to that? So that's what we try to do.
Well, it's time to head to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk with Mark more about life in the magazine industry and what's for the future.
There you go.
Hey everybody, we're here at Penn Cinema to find out what everyone's been talking about. Excuse me, why do you choose Penn Cinema?
I like the seats. They're really comfy. They're a lot nicer than most other places. Even my house.
Oh, this place is great. I mean, it's popcorn. Got some. We got a slushy machine over there. We got 3 clocks. 3 clocks for the Lidditz, the Lancaster, and the effort of time, just in case you don't know what time it is in your area. That's why I love this place. They think about everybody. Very friendly.
Has a nicer environment.
It's clean and comfortable. It feels independent. You know, like it doesn't feel like part of a system. Like it feels like as big as it is and as polished as it is, that it feels independent, you know?
Bigger screen, better quality.
So it's really close. It's very clean. We come here all the time.
What do you like about Penn Cinema?
The seats are my favorite thing. Very comfortable on the rump.
3D IMAX, the whole shebang.
It has a down-home feel, and we love the atmosphere that Penn has created. He really tries to take into account what people want in a theater.
It's really clean, and the seats are really comfy.
Yeah, I like the seats. It's the best movie theater to come to.
Well, you've heard what they have to say. Now come see for yourself. Check out Penn Cinema for first-class movies in a first-rate theater. Located at 541 Airport Road in Lidditz, PA.
Well, we're back with Mark Pontz. Mark, how would you describe the mission of your magazine?
That's a great question. The mission of the magazine is to make people both within our county lines and outside our county lines aware of the cool stuff that happens here and aware of cool things even if they're not necessarily here. But we're looking to edify. I don't know that educates. Well, no, scratch that. We're looking to educate as well because my wife Marian is an educator, a teacher, and she writes the lunch column, which is actually one of our most popular things, along with Food Fight. It's an interview with, and she looks for world changers. And by world changers, I don't mean necessarily let's talk to Hillary Clinton or whoever, and not to be democratic about it. I can't think of
Sean Hannity.
Thank you.
Please no.
Thank you.
No.
I just need a Republican name quickly. In the upcoming issue in February, she interviews a young lady who's a journalism student, who's just an incredibly accomplished young woman. And she has interviewed people. My wife's all about social missions, so she brings a lot of that to the magazine. So technically we are looking to educate. We're looking to put the word out for worthwhile and worthy causes. And, so sum up Fine Living Lancaster. Fine Living Lancaster wants to tell you about a worthy cause that you can help support while you're drinking the best latte you can find, wearing a really cool pair of shoes, and listening to an awesome new regional piece of music. I think that's everything. Yeah. Did that get everything? and then, I don't know. There's more, I'm sure.
So as you look at where the magazine is today, after being in publication for 6 or 7 years, you look at where you are in central Pennsylvania, Philly's not too far away, not the best economy right now. What do you think is the biggest threat to you accomplishing that mission or even drifting away from it?
Well, I think the beauty of the magazine, and I have a mortgage client that works at the Chamber of Commerce that said this to me one time, who I took care of a mortgage for. I was kind of the undercover publisher for the first few years. I wanted to make sure that it found its footing and people wouldn't be worried that I wasn't paying proper attention to my quote-unquote real job, which is not a problem because the fine living stuff that happens very early in the morning or very late at night, as far as I'm concerned. I have an amazing group of people that help us with it. We have Kat Cuss, who's our art director. We have Chris Rook, who does web, and the whole Chris is, Chris basically might as well be tattooed on my right arm because that's what Chris is. We have Sue Black and Kate Greenewalt and Amy McLean. They're selling the magazine for us, and Nicole Patterson, who's a writer and our copy editor. So I want to make sure I got everybody there. They carry the ball of my ideas. I mean, it's like I hand them the ball. Hey, let's do something about X, whatever X is, a musician, fashion trend, whatever. And then they help me to execute it. I mean, I'm touching it all the time. I'm seeing everything that's happening. I'm changing things as we go, but it's a team effort. I'm just basically pushing the ship into the water and then making sure it stays well balanced. So as far as where the whole point of that is, fine living is not something I do for a living. Fine living is for me a way to balance the other side of my head because I do numbers all day long. So the creative stuff, left brain, right brain. I have the unique ability of somebody who's in the financial services field that doesn't have, to get that out of my head for a little bit and think about photographs and color and things like that. And I think it makes both of them better. But all that said, it doesn't need to support me, so it isn't quite as fickle for economic trends, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So we look to continue to expand and make sure that everybody's taken care of and grow. The best job in the world is one you don't have to get paid for.
Well, I have a question, and maybe it's kind of moot, and it might, or it could be a little controversial. And the area that we live in is very religious, and working in the media as well, it's oftentimes that you kind of find a lot of religious undertones to the things that you're talking about, or the things that people want to share about. Having a lot of writers and having a large audience, have you had to ever deal with kind of shifting away from certain things, or have you felt like maybe you're getting a little heavy in certain areas?
I think that's a great question, David. I don't think we've ever, other than that ad I mentioned, that not for religious purposes, but purely it was in my opinion, in bad taste. And so I want to do nothing in poor taste. That said, well, I won't allow it unless it sneaks by me. So that said, I enjoy pushing boundaries, and we don't shy away from religion as an example. We won't shy away from it, and we won't cater to it. To me, ideas are precious. Ideas are everything, and I want to know your thoughts. As an example, yours or Becky's, even if they aren't the same as mine. I'm not interested in sitting in a room with a bunch of people that agree with me or that I agree with and just agreeing with each other all day long. Where's the growth in that? So when we did the political issue, we balanced it with both sides. And actually have a really fun piece from one of our writers, Brent Ermey, whose wife Sandy is an enormous Ron Paul supporter. And I mean, so much so that I jokingly said, hey, I want you to write a story about your wife's support of this called Sleeping with Ron Paul. Because that's all you hear about during the election cycle is Ron Paul coming from your wife. And that's what the title ended up being. But it was a great piece, and he's a very humorous writer, and it was a great read. But generally, if you look at it, it's very balanced. Here's some thoughts from a Republican point of view. Here's the thoughts from a Democratic point of view. So I'm not going to run away from religion or any topic, and I'm not going to cater to any particular topic, religion or whatever. Again, I just come back to the beginning and say, I'm all about ideas. Share your ideas with me and let me know what your thoughts are, because the free exchange of ideas is what's make the world go round. And oil.
Well, along that lines, are there any subjects that you've always wanted to cover that you've never reached out to?
Yes. I can't say, though. For the same reason I haven't covered it, I can't say. There's some things that I view as social injustice, and one particular thing, but that's not who we are. We're about ideas, absolutely. We're about thought-provoking, being thought-provocative, as it were. Again, my wife's missions are very social, help the next person rather than just worry about yourself. So I don't feel any of that to be wrong, but I'm not looking to put something in there for the purpose of being inflammatory. So something, if I just know that 50% of the people are just going to get angry because of it, that's not solving anything. So we're not Newsweek, and we're not a newspaper. We're here to entertain and to educate and edify, but we're not looking to make people angry purposefully. So hopefully that answers the question.
Mark, could you take us inside the magazine's creative process a little bit? When you sit down and to look at an issue that has nothing on it yet, what does your team say? How do you meet? You said your work at the magazine is early in the morning or late at night.
Right. Have you ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Yes, I have. Much
like the inner workings of fine Living Lancaster. We don't call them Oompa Loompas, but we have small creatures. No, I'm kidding. Again, that's what I mean by pushing the ship into the water. The team and sometimes outside sources will send us something saying you ought to know about. Let's go away from the team for a second. Occasionally, we'll get something, an email, a phone call saying, "Did you know about this person? Did you know about this circumstance?" I meet a lot of people. And through the magazine and really through the mortgage business. Much of what has appeared in the magazine has been people I've met through the mortgage business and found them interesting or socially relevant. But sometimes we'll get unsolicited suggestions and do them. Unfortunately, the majority of those are self-serving. We got a call one time from a lady that thought that the greatest idea in the world would be to do a story about her daughter who has a business selling garage doors. And while I'm sure she was proud of her daughter, and I'm sure her daughter does a great job, I don't know that that's a great read. How many pages can you read about a garage door, unless it was painted by Jackson Pollock or something? So a little bit of that. The team often will say, here's a band we heard that we like. Here's an artist. Sue, one of our salespeople, Sue Black, is a big art buff, which is funny because she's on the sales end of things. She's not on the creative end of things so much. But she brought us an artist that we're featuring in the next issue. That I'll let be a surprise. But that's a small part of it. And then legitimately, that's, again, pushing the ship into the water. That's what I'm doing. I'm saying, all right, here is what our next issue is going to consist of. Here's the people I want to cover. Here's the ingredient for the food fight. Here's where we're going to go have dinner with the Breakfast Club, that kind of thing. And then I'm either handing it to people to finish, or our copy editors handing them out to writers and things like that. So it sounds immodest. I don't mean it to, but the majority of what you see on the page came out of my head. So that's just where the Willy Wonka is, in there.
Did you bring candy?
I have some candy in the car.
Well, we've talked a lot about the magazine.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about you.
You
said the magazine is a lot of you, but what part of you not in there might people find interesting?
I don't know. I kind of put it all on the page, David. You and I met for the first time. Okay, this one's not in the magazine. The first time you and I met was at the train station, both boarding a train to New York Comic Con.
That's right.
My first time going was the idea of my good friend and your friend as well, Penn Ketchum from Penn Cinemas, who said, "Hey, we ought to go to Comic Con." Sounds like a plan. So I'm a geek. I don't let that come out too much in the magazine, I don't think. So, I have a geek flag. Let's put it that way. I fly a geek flag. I love technical things. I have iPads. I did not get the iPad Mini. That close, but I did not do it. So it wouldn't be surprising to people that read the magazine to know that the guy who spearheads it likes computers and things like that. And so yeah, Comic-Con, movies, that kind of thing. It all kind of boils down to understanding how it comes about. We just don't talk about comic books per se. But
it's funny that you keep it relatively hidden, because before I met you, that was the side of you that I was told to expect.
What, the geek side?
Yeah. Penn was like, "You need to meet my friend Mark." He's like, "We watch these movies," and I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And then Mark's like, "No, you don't understand the backstory behind this character. Why they're doing this or that." So.
Oh dear. Yeah, we watched the Avengers, and if you've seen the Avengers, after the first part of the credits, there's a little scene at the end, and I was watching it with Penn, and you've seen it, I'm sure. And one of the characters says something to something. The one character, you're talking to the back of his head, and he turns around. You only see a third of his face or half of his face, and I just start to giggle, or not giggle like a schoolgirl, but chuckle.
No,
let's say chuckle.
Like a schoolgirl.
You weren't there, and I go, "Oh, that's okay." And Penn's like, "Okay, who's that?" And I knew, and I gave him the whole story. And the funny thing is, I haven't bought a comic book in 20 years. So the thing is, all these movies are pulling stuff from way back when I was younger, and it was socially acceptable to buy a comic book. But no, I love entertainment. As I said, we watched Prometheus this morning, and at the very beginning of Ridley Scott's movie, and at the beginning was his vanity plate, where it's almost like watercolors happening on screen, and then it ends up with a bird, and then it says Scott Free Productions. And before it came up to that point, my wife goes, "Wonder what that is?" I said, "That's Ridley Scott production company." And she goes, "Oh, thank you." So that's what he means by geek. It's not just comic books. Comic books are a tiny part of it from when I was a kid, but no, I like the entertainment industry. That's a big thing for me. I love films.
I was the same guy. All my friends were like, "Who is that?" After it ended, they all
you knew
me, and I knew. No.
Did you know, Becky?
I didn't.
Have you seen the Avengers, Becky?
I
we
don't
saw.
think we. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
it's one of the few movies.
Dave and I are kind of opposites in that regard.
Yeah.
What's your movie thing?
My movie?
Yeah, what's your top movie from 2012?
Oh man, I'm not used to being interviewed.
I am in media, you know.
Gosh,
She likes
We're so-
action films. It's surprising.
like action films, Machine Gun Preacher.
Really?
I made David go to see that movie. That was 2011.
That was a good one.
I'm not saying that's my answer.
We're not. I'm not
do.
speaking anymore until you tell us what your favorite movie was. You got
Oh,
at least.
2012. Well, I haven't seen all the good ones in December.
Ah,
That's not an excuse. You should still have at least one movie.
I also
that-
fall asleep a lot in movies.
I do not do that unless I'm at home and my daughter can mock me for it. So not Nicholas Sparks. Not a big thing for you.
Oh no.
Well, you don't fall asleep at the movies, though. I mean, you fall asleep
If
at
I
home.
pay for it,
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I have a horrible memory.
We'll never hear what it is. It's,
All right. We're putting you on.
I will email you.
We're putting you in an episode of Fine on Fox. Just say what your favorite movie was.
the segment. I'll get back to
Breaking news. Becky has
Our hostess for Fine on Fox, Angela Walker, say, "Well, this week, Becky's favorite movie from last year. How that's relevant, I don't know." All right. How about this? What movie are you looking forward to in 2013?
I don't have a TV, so I don't see as many previews as the normal person does.
You don't have a what?
Television?
I don't watch TV.
I don't even know you anymore.
Is that? We just met. Yeah, it's pretty bad for someone in media.
All right.
I like to say it keeps me pure.
Yeah. Okay. David, maybe movie for 2013?
Oh, man, that's tough. Okay, are we...
A lot of choices.
At this point, I'm going to say Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm really looking forward to that. I mean...
Not bad.
It's a tough call with The Hobbit and all the...
Is there another Hobbit next year?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah, one a year.
All right.
So, Decimation of Smog.
Ah.
And then I think...
I did not see The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings was not a big thing for me.
Really? Okay.
So, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I watched them and I fell asleep with Becky. I mean, wait, no. I fell asleep like Becky. Excuse me. Whoops.
Everyone knows.
No one knows. Literally, Becky and I just met. Well, 2013, I've got two words for you.
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Oh, man, that looks good, too. There's just so many good
I know.
ones. It's hard to... Did you see the 9-minute preview for Star Trek, though?
I did. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think J.J. Abrams did a great job with that first one. I just watched that like for the third or fourth time and got new stuff out of it. That guy can tell a story.
And it's such an amazing movie.
Yeah,
It's
J.J.
Surprisingly.
And I like when people are, you didn't necessarily expect J.J. Abrams to reboot Star Trek, but
Right.
pow. And here's a little scoop for you because, Fine Living has the dirt. Zachary Quinto, who plays Spock, was also on Heroes, is a gay man and is in a relationship with Jonathan Groff, who is from Lancaster.
Oh, really?
He was in Broadway. Oh, wonderful musical on Broadway, and I'm blanking out. But he was on Boss, on Kelsey Grammer's show Boss on Stars. You wouldn't know because that's on television.
On what?
Yes, exactly. But anyway, he was spotted at the mall over Christmas because he was in with visiting with Jonathan's family.
Really?
So Mr. Spock is dating someone from Lancaster.
Wow.
That's the best news I've heard since Lady Gaga.
Probably better. Yeah, probably better.
Yeah. Unless he's Siler instead of Spock. That's bad news.
That's bad. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She
I'm
knows
so glad you guys are friends.
That was just,
The Lady Gaga thing. The Lady Gaga thing is cool,
Batman.
and she's very cool.
No.
Siler was his character on Heroes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a villain.
On what now? I don't have a television. I watched that with my daughter. We enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I like that.
But Iron Man's the big one for me because my daughter says I want to be Tony Stark.
I could see that.
Yeah, goatee and everything.
Yeah.
I had it first. Mine's much grayer than his, though. Don't look at me.
Well, Mark, it's been great having you on the show. If people want to learn more about you and more about Fine Living Lancaster, how can they do that?
Well, Google me. Lots of fun stuff will come up. No, I'm kidding. You can Google me if you want. But the magazine's website is FLL Mag, as in Fine Living Lancaster, FLLmag.com. We are at Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. We're always happy to put cool stuff up there. My website for myself, for the mortgages, is my name, markpontz.com. Oh, and one last thing I would say is please check out FLLbuzzradio.com. We have an online radio station that is all regional artists. A lot of good stuff going on there. And it's where you could just literally plug when you're not listening to the Lancast. go to FLO Buzz Radio and just let it roll because it's some great stuff. There's so much amazing musical talent out there. And we're trying to give them a voice that they can't get.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You too. We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you would like to help support us in that way, you can visit thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So, for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Becky Svensson.
Asking, are you in the cast?
And I'm Becky Svensson. I had to think about my name.
Who am I?
You really need to save these and make a blooper reel.